do. It didn't happen because my internet network went down. It was an outage.
Whoa.
So Ryan wanted me to host this event at what time? He wanted me to host it at 6
In the
o'clock.
evening, yeah.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. 10 minutes to 6, the service goes down.
That's wild.
So I'm going, So then, so what we did is it was out down for like 3-4 hours.
Because when you mentioned that you're on the phone with the service provider, I'm like, this is something serious.
Yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing.
That's
so
wild.
just an FYI for people, there was a little bit of a difficulty broadcasting this on YouTube. It has been fixed, so sorry about that. I don't know what I think I know why it could have happened, but we're not going to get in that. But it's back on YouTube right now. But let's get back to it. So that happened. Then it went down again the next day. So in the morning time was up, and I got an email from the service provider just checking to see if your internet's okay. Yeah, it's fine, no problem. A little bit later in the afternoon, goes down again.
What is going on?
And then so it's back up. Came back up, and they said, "Look, we'll send a technician out on Friday between 8 and 11." So I'm not going to answer the phone, or if I get a phone call, it's probably the technician. But we are up. It's all good. But on Tuesday, before your event, I had attended an incredible session live. Now, you know me, I don't go past Yonge Street unless it's a plane most of the time, or to visit one special people like the gentleman we have coming up today. Yes. I'll usually pass Yonge Street in the GTA. But I went to an incredible event called Transform Your Business for Long-Term Success. Okay. It was held out in Cambridge at a golf and country club. I was invited. There were about 100 CEOs and business owners in the room. And I think there were only 4 melanated people.
Wow.
All the rest were non-melanated. But the gentleman who did the sharing, gentleman named Jay Davis, who used to be VP of global operations for Volvo.
What? Okay.
I'm still sort of like going like this about this. It was so next level. It was incredible.
Yes.
Like he basically shared his journey. It was like it was so next level. It was so like I'm actually going to be speaking with him next week for a few minutes again, because the stuff that he shared was amazing. And here's a little tip: when you go to events like that and there's a really good guest speaker, arrive early.
Right.
So I went with someone. We arrived probably about 45 minutes early. Jay was there, so we got half an hour just hanging out with him,
right,
and just talking. And like I've got just some of the notes. I'm just sharing some of the notes from this. He said everyone wants to be a success, but not everyone takes the time to be a success.
Okay. Yes.
And he's a very, 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 very proud Canadian, and he's worked in different countries all around the world. So he shared some of his experiences getting used to other individuals' cultures. And he said for leaders, you want to make your day easier so you can spend time growing and scaling your business.
Okay, and not attached to the cash register.
Right.
And doing all the other things too. You have to put together that team.
He also said something was great. He said, with a business owner, you've got to, if you're the leader of your business, you have to be the best profiler in your company.
That is so interesting that you mentioned that, and especially that you wrote that down, because that's one thing that I've been questioning myself with is, as you make bad decisions, I started to question, how good am I at actually assessing character and choosing the people that you either decide to work with? And you're like, I need to get better at that exact profiling. I don't know if he was specifically talking about people, but yes.
You should know the profiles of your employees
right.
better than anybody else.
That
Anybody
man,
else.
that I'm gonna sleep on that one. I have
That
to
was
meditate on that.
it
That's
was
really important.
it was so, and like he loves hockey and he loves sports and he's all about scoring goals and winning games.
Yes, that's solid.
It was really uh I like folks like I didn't get down everything, but I'm going to show you like these are some of the notes I took. Like I was just going wow, wow, wow.
Yes,
And
yes.
one of the melanated people there is a gentleman we're hoping to have on the platform, a gentleman named Jamel Lindo, who's a black gentleman who is top notch in regards to emotional intelligence. He's a high level emotional intelligence coach. He's
Yes.
actually on the Forbes, that's Forbes magazine. Yeah, Forbes Coaching Council official member.
Oh, snap. Okay.
And it's funny because one of the people at the table, lady, I said, well, do you know about Jamel? I said, Jamel's the bomb. He did a great job with myself, my company, etc. He was just amazing. So working on getting him on the platform also during the week. There's a number of people coming up next week. Later on next week, we have a lady named Terry Johnson who knows about things like AI, social media, all those sort of things. She's going to be on. We're speaking next Friday. I've spoken with Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi's coming on the platform in the next 2 weeks. So there's a lot of things going on. So we've chatted too long, but let me just, so Marlon Steven, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Good
morning.
Day.
And Natalie Williams, good morning. LinkedIn user goes, can you give something of what he shared with you? I just gave it, but if you want, you can reach out to me directly. I can share some of his notes. I'm gonna see if he'd be willing to come on a morning vibe and talk, because he was like, and like this is, and it's next level thought process. I mean, like, and I said, and it'd be you, and I know it would fit well with many people in this family because it was so good. It was like so, like, you know, at the end of it, I just sat there and I had to, before I left, I had to sit down for a few minutes in the car and just sort of
let it absorb.
Let it settle in. It was so amazing. So Divine Right from the DMV. Good morning, everything. Good morning, the Gala King.
And Divine I'm waiting for my cat. What's it? The cape,
the robe, the cape, and the crown. Good morning, Marlon Stevens. Good morning, Stephen. Sorry, Stephen. And Natalie Prasad. I know whenever we have this friend on, Natalie is tuning in from Jacksonville. Before we get to our friend, there's a question here. Can you share more information about the Federal Black Entrepreneur Ecosystem Conference 2023?
Yes, absolutely. So for those that might know, ACBN, the Afro Caribbean Business Network, we're actually part of a broader Black entrepreneurship ecosystem. So there's about over 40 Black serving business organizations that got funded through the federal government. So each year, and last year was the first one in June, and this year ACBN chairs the ecosystem conference. So we bring the organizations and the entrepreneurs that they work with, and of course, other supports from outside of just who got funded, but other business organizations that work with entrepreneurs to this conference to do capacity building so that we can collaborate as a group better, how we can leverage this to raise additional funds, how we can leverage our services to help business owners in a better way, and really to just make sure we know who's who does what, and that we can grow together. So that's going to be the last week of June this year, the 27th to the 29th. Oh, to the 30th, sorry.
Wow, and it's lovely. People are piling, because I know they usually pile in via YouTube, and there was a little bit of a malfunction on YouTube, but YouTube is back now. So I see the YouTube family is kicking in. Guest speakers, Natalie's asking.
Great speakers or guest speakers?
Yes, great speakers. Sorry, no great speakers. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Verna G says, good morning. Teach and inspire. Good morning. TGIF. Yeah, with the sunshine out where I am, at least. Divine Right.
Yeah.
They're following up. I talked to my dear soror Tachi about the crown road jewels. Stay tuned, Gala King.
Careful. I said if it comes in time, I'll wear it to the Harry Jerome's because I'm planning to go. So I got to go in style. So let me know if it's ready.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. Tuning in now. I still owe you some information, Mr. Lawrence. So I need. Oh, one of my great supporters from State of Things with Aisha Jill and Lala, the real Dango, is in the house. And what's happening in 2023? The Black Ecosystem Conference. You missed it. Watch the replay or contact Ryan directly. All right. We've been yapping long enough, and we need to get our friend on. So for those who don't know, and for those who do know, the third Friday of each month, we have a wonderful gentleman named Ray McMillan on from the McMillan Group. What can I say? What can I say? He has been such an inspiration, pardon me, to many people on this platform, outside of this platform. We're going to have him sharing today. So he is ready to rock and roll. So let me bring to the table Raymond McMillan. What's going on?
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good day.
My voice is a little weird there, man. I need some honey.
No. Were you yelling at a networking event too?
No, but what happens to me is when this temperature goes up and down from hot to cool, my throat gets a little funny, a little wonky, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Itchy. So that I haven't spoken for a while, so I mean that can be it too.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good
You
stuff.
guys
Good to see you.
How's business going, Ray?
Business is good. I mean, you know, there's always changes, but I mean, you've got to figure out how to navigate and pivot those changes. The key is to build something that's sustainable, right?
Yes.
Every business is going to have its highs and its lows, so you've got to figure out how to understand the landscape you're working in, and you know, not get consumed with the overall big economic picture because we have little control over that process. You got to how to work within your space and, you know, do the best you can.
I'm so curious to get your thoughts on what Dr. Vibe shared with the speaker talking about as business owners, we have to get really good at profiling. So profiling the people that we work with and either on our team or in business. What's been your experience with your ability to profile people and make good decisions with who you work with?
I'm an anomaly. I'm educated and suited with a lot of street sense. So you have to develop that street sense. If not, you waste a lot of time with people. I've had good and bad business interactions, good and bad clients, but I think I've always had the ability to see through the bullshit in the first 30 seconds.
Yes.
So, I mean, the key is to let people talk to you. And that's why I don't do a lot of online and telephone conversations. I want to see your eyes when you talk to me. I can see straight through the nonsense very, very quickly, man. And I've taught my son the same thing. So we can sit and you can ramble on, you know, and it's not a lot of times to show me the receipts. What have you done? Who have you worked with? And also listen to the failures, because a lot of times people highlight their accomplishments, but have you stumbled and how do you deal with that stumbling? Because, you know, along the way, you will stumble if you're trying to get to big things. And it's how you deal with that, with those shortcomings and those challenges. That's when your true person is going to come out. But I've been fortunate over the years. I've had some very good business associations. I don't change interactions easily, you know. Like, I mean, I've worked with lawyers for 20 plus years. As you guys know, my son now works. I work for my son, and my son works for me. The other way around.
Right. The shift has been made.
yeah, he made a long time.
Shout out to Stephen. He's doing excellent. I see the award posts coming in.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this is an industry where the accolades, you know, reflect your abilities and competence. If you have no award, it means you're not doing business, right? You're not doing good business. So he's been doing them now since I think 2018. He's been winning a lot of awards every year for productivity and that kind of stuff. So, you know, but yeah, it's important. You've got to profile people because you lose time. You lose time, and more important, you lose credibility. You have the wrong person next to you under your brand, and they're doing something that doesn't really reflect who you are and what you do. Totally unbridled. You let them run wild, and then your brand gets impacted. I mean, I've built my brand almost 30 years now. So I'm very cautious and cognizant of who walks through my door and wants to work with me. I get calls every day, I want to work with you. My question is why? Why do you want to work with me?
Yes.
I don't want you in my space. And say no. It's a beautiful word. I always tell people that the word no is one of the most beautiful words in the English language.
Yes.
No, I'm not interested. No, I don't care. No, I don't want to. Thank you very much. End the conversation. But anyway, we're not here to talk about profiling. We're talking about making money in real estate.
Yeah, hold on just a quick second. So Natalie says to Ryan, thanks for asking the question in regards to the upcoming event in July. Christopher says, Ray, real estate McMillan has arrived. Bam. Natalie appreciates book and street smarts. Yes. And Christopher says, Ray, you just touched key points. Thank you for energy. So with all of that, let's get into what we're going to be chatting about on this episode. You're wanting to chat about, discover, learn, invest, taking real estate investing beyond the familiar. Start it off where you want to start.
A few years ago, we started to observe that many of our investor, quote unquote, clients weren't really true investors. They were people who stumbled into the process accidentally, where they usually bought a house in the suburbs and decided to keep it once they bought a second home, or they were people who had basement tenants. And not a knock against either of those things. I mean, those things work when you're at a certain stage. Those who want to see investment process to create wealth, and that's not buying one property or not buying. Let me do properties, and there's units. A property can have several units. It can be a house, it can be a duplex, a triplex, or an apartment building with 4 units. A unit is one door, right? So within a property, you can have more than one unit. So the first thing is to understand the terminology of investing in real estate. So most of the people we dealt with had 1 unit or 2 units. And most into that, it was accidental. Many times it was suburban real estate. Properties they bought out in the suburbs where they lived. And as you look at it, it didn't really make sense. Because the only way they were going to make money is through the market appreciation. Many times the properties didn't cash flow. They weren't cash flowing real estate. So you couldn't say, I'm going to stop working and have this portfolio pay me a monthly dividend or a monthly income. And if you retired, then you'd have to sell all of these properties to have money because the properties didn't cash flow. So my son and I decided to come up with this concept, discover, learn, invest. And what we mean by that is we're going to discover communities, learn about them. If they're investable communities, then we will invest in them. And we took a few of our clients through that process, and all of them have become successful real estate investors. Right. Across Canada, there are about 55 cities with a population of more than 100,000 people. In the US, it's about 250 cities. You want to invest in urban centers as opposed to suburban centers, because in the urban centers is where you have all the infrastructure, all the amenities, all the government, all the jobs. You go into the suburbs, they're what I call bedroom communities. And while many people may actually be successful first in the short term in those communities, they are more susceptible to swings in the economy, right? Because there's no industry there. It doesn't sustain the community. I mean, if you leave, downtown Ajax, for example, and go north of Ajax up to Taunton Road, it's all houses, right? You leave, the core of Brampton and you go north for 20 minutes. Again, it's all houses. And if any major city across North America, you'll find the exact same trend. What happens to a lot of investors is that the urban centers they live in, we can't afford to invest in today. We've been priced out of that market. Not that there isn't opportunity. There is still opportunity, but the price to get in and play the game is hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. So the average person can't get into that space unless you partner with 10, 20 people and start an investment company or investment club. So we have advised or informed our clients to look beyond what is familiar to us. And that means expanding the landscape, right? You get a map of North America and you look at cities, and then you research each city individually to see what makes sense. Now, you have to define what you want to invest in, first of all. It can't be random. Are you investing in student housing? Are you investing in, houses for healthcare workers? Are you investing in vacation rentals? Like, what is the product you want to invest in? Because that will determine what type of city you want to buy the real estate in. If you're investing in vacation properties, then ideally you want to invest in a property in an area, a geographic area where people travel there to enjoy themselves. So whether it's a beach community, some kind of place where there's a large concert every year, that sort of stuff. And then you will find that you become more successful in the process. Number two, you want to also determine how many units you plan to have or doors. And what is the end game? Because one property, if it's only one unit, is not going to get you to the end goal. I met a client a few years ago who worked for the federal government. And she said to me, at the time she made about $80,000 a year. Her goal was to replace her employment income with her investment portfolio. Okay. And we got there in about 2 or 3 years. So the goal is very important. And as you determine the goal and now the location, the next thing now is to learn about that community. And that is where the work really is. And that's where you've got to put the time in.
So Ray, question for you. And I'm actually going to go right down to the basic level that it doesn't, when you meet clients that are interested in investing, on average, what is their knowledge of investment real estate? Because I think it sounds like you have to do a lot of education. Is that true?
Yes, the knowledge is mostly zero.
Wow.
0%. I mean, I read a study yesterday that 6 in 10 Canadians, what's the exact thing they said? 6 in 10 Canadians don't understand their finances. Mm-hmm. And that's across the entire Canadian population. That's not based on certain ethnic groups or demographics. So if 6 in 10 Canadians don't understand their finances, can you imagine what that number is in certain groups and certain migrant communities where there's a huge learning curve coming from other parts of the world into this very sophisticated financial system, right? Now, surveys can be taken with a grain of salt because it depends on what postal code you're conducting that survey in. So, I mean, there's always a skew either way in the accuracy of that information. But I mean, even if it's 4 and 10%, that's a very high number. So if 6 and 10 don't understand their personal finances, how are they when it comes to investing in real estate?
Exactly.
So what I've observed over my 25 years in the industry, most people are following the crowd blindly. Right? They're not sitting down. I mean, I've seen several clients who bought investment properties, and then 6 months in, they realize that it doesn't cash flow. So why did you buy it? I mean, if you buy an investment property, the term investment means to earn income from. If you're investing in stocks, you want it to appreciate and pay you a dividend. If you invest in cars, you want their value to go up, and then you put them into races and you make money off of them. You put them into car shows and you win prizes. If you invest in watches, the value goes up and you sell it. So at some point you want it to appreciate, but you want to get the income. But investment real estate, I think both appreciation in value and the income are equally important. In cities where the appreciation is phenomenal in the short term, it can create a very, very false sense that you're making money. Because here in the GTA, we've had property appreciation in value by 20% year over year. That is not normal. And if you go back to historical data, properties appreciate between 4.5% to 6% year over year. That's how the model is built. Now, the cash flow is where you want that income, right? So when you figure out where you're going to invest, you want to learn about that community. You want to understand the nuances, the population size, the economy, all the government plans, what is data that makes somebody want to go there? Is it a university town? Is it a beachside town? Is it a vacation town? Is it growing? Is the population growing? That's very important, right? But there are many cities where the population is actually declining. I mean, I did some research a few days ago into American cities where the populations have declined by as much as 30%. Detroit is one of them. Detroit has had a mass exodus in the last 2 decades.
Oh, really?
Because the plant is collapsed.
Yeah.
I mean, many cities in Canada have the exact same thing. I mean, you go through the Midwest of America, you've got cities where the population decline is almost 50%. They're a ghost of what they were in the past. So population increasing through by childbirth, but also by in-migration. Because if people are coming to a city, it means there's something attracting them there. What big developments are happening? Are companies bringing their logistics facilities there? If there's a wharf there, is it being expanded? Are more ships coming in? Because that creates jobs. And those jobs are usually higher paying jobs, mostly by men. And that means you have potential clients for your rental portfolio, which is tenants. It's a very simple model, right? And that has to be the focus.
So I was curious. Yeah, you mentioned there's about 50 cities that have 100,000 population and about 250 in the US that have about 100,000. Is that your benchmark to see those types of cities, and are they growing or reducing? Or do you start with cities less than 100,000?
No, I would never look at any city with less than 100,000 people, unless it's a resort town and you're buying resort property. And that's the more specific your investment portfolio is, the more susceptible you are to swings in the economy. So if your entire portfolio is beachfront resort condominiums, which you rent for $300 a night, in an economic downturn, people stop traveling. So you got an entire portfolio that's not sitting there empty. So the focus you want to focus on the part of the population that is always going to be renting. So the next thing I also look at is the age of that population. So you want a city that has a very large population in the age of 25 and 45, where they're usually working, but they're not making enough money to buy their own home. That we've got a very large pool of potential renters. For those of us who are in Canada, Niagara Falls, for example, not a very large city, but it's one of probably the highest destination place for vacationers in North America. Las Vegas and Niagara Falls. Not sure which one is higher. There are people going there to vacation, right? It's one of the wonders of the world, Niagara Falls. That means you have a lot of staff there who work in hospitality. So their incomes are lower. They may have tips where they have a decent lifestyle, but they're always going to rent. And the population is also transient. Same thing in Orlando. It's again one of the largest destination spots in North America for vacationers. So if your focus is vacation type rentals, or even lower level market rentals for that kind of staff, then you choose the location properly, right? So it's understanding who your target tenant is very important to determine what you buy. And that information, you have to do the research. Like we built a portfolio in Northeast Florida over the last few years. And we started looking at property in 2019. We didn't pull the trigger on the first property until 2021. 2 years. You can't rush into it. Many things happened. We were outbidded. And don't get caught up in the emotional bidding on an investment property. The key is you want to buy on a discount. You have to buy the property on a discount because you want to buy it where as soon as you buy it and close, you've made money the next day by doing some minor upgrades to the property, right? So if you're buying property from a real estate developer, like many folks are buying here in Canada, you're buying property at a premium because that developer is making all the money. So if you're buying a property in a suburb as an investment, your only hope most times is that it's going to appreciate significantly. So in my opinion, that's not a wise decision when buying investment real estate. And I always reiterate that. You want to buy within the major urban cores. So understanding, learning the economy, learning what makes the city tick, understanding the migration, understanding the age of the population. How do you do that? By research. But the easier way to do it is by joining real estate investment groups that are in those particular cities. For example, if I want to invest in property in Phoenix, Arizona, I can't fly back and forth there every weekend to go and look at properties there. So I will join an investment group out in Phoenix. And the smaller the group, the better the group is for me. I don't want a group of 10,000 people.
No.
I want 300 people or less, because that way the conversation is more authentic and I can better engage with people who are actually doing real stuff. In a 10,000 plus person group, you're lost in the noise. That's my opinion. It may work for other people. It doesn't work for me. And I've joined investment groups all across North America, because you can't be everywhere at the same time. You can map a lot of stuff digitally and understand the city and the nuances and the economy, but it's difficult to be every place at the same time. The next thing you want to do is follow the municipal news, because every project in the city has to go through City Hall. So if you are on the city's website, you will get the updates of what's happening in that city, and then you can decide whether this place fits my long-term investment objectives. And real estate is long-term investing.
Yes.
Yes, you can flip in the short term, but it's not all this market. It's a 5 to 30 year play, minimum 5 years. You're not going to see any real return until probably between year 3 and year 5, right? So you got to be very, very aware of those things and understand the landscape you're in.
All right, let's do a ton, because there's a lot of questions, because Ray is giving major game, family, major game. Now, if you can't all dissect it, you know what you do? Contact him.
Yes.
Contact the McMillan Group. The information is there on the screen. I won't read it all, but I'll be showing it periodically through our conversation this morning. But this, I know for a fact, Ray does research daily. So he helps you shortcut the shortcut when it comes to this stuff. So just want to put it out there. We've got a number of questions from the family today. So Ray, I hope you're ready, because there's lots of questions already. Naleen from Jacksonville says, so would you advise an investor to purchase a single unit or multiple family units?
Great question. Thank you. It depends on what money you have, first of all. You have to start somewhere. So if you've got limited funds and you can find a multi-family unit within your budget, then my recommendation is to buy the multi-family unit. The more doors you have within a unit reduces your risk to rent loss. If a tenant moves out, you've got 4 units in that multi-family, and one tenant moves out, you've got 3 units that are still rented. Then most likely you can take your time, clean the unit up, and not rushing and rent to the wrong person. You can take your time and screen your tenants properly because you're not stressed out. Now, if you're limited in your resources, then you're into the real estate investing process. It might require you to buy small residential single-family homes. And there are many parts of North America where you can buy those homes for less than $200,000. That will cash flow you positively, with the intention of getting up to a certain amount of doors in the long term or the short term. So you buy your first single-family unit, and then you buy your second single-family home, within 6 months or a year, and you have a plan. You have to have a game plan. Now, I was talking to a colleague a few days ago, and they asked me, which is easier to liquidate? My preference is to have a mix of everything. When it comes to trying to liquidate your portfolio, right? If you want to cash out, if you have 20 single-family homes, it's easier for you to sell and take your profit. But if you've got 2 large units with 8 or 12 units each, then if you sell them, then you've lost all your income, your sources of income. So, you have to determine what your plan is 20 years from now, depending on your age, obviously. My timeline is much shorter. I've got a 5-year timeline, right? But if you're in your 30s or 40s, you have to, when I get to 60 or 70, is my intention to sell all these properties and then go on a 1-year boat cruise around the world, or go live in the Caribbean? Or is it my intention to give it to my children and have them now take on the portfolio? So what you buy and how you do it has a lot to do with your long-term objectives. And many times I'll ask a client, so what's the plan? And they will say, what do you mean? Well, you're buying property, what's the plan? If I'm going to buy a product, then my intention is to have a plan. Like, the building I'm in, you're familiar with, Ryan.
I've been there too.
Oh, sorry, Doctor. But
That's all right. I know. Like I said, I do my once in a while visit, but But Ryan's. Hold on now.
Yes.
Hold on a second, Ray. Ryan is further east than myself, so just know that now.
Yeah. The building you guys have both entered over the last few years since I've been here is owned by someone who I've developed a very good relationship with, and they own multiple properties. And this property was bought by the gentleman's father. No, the guy I interact with who manages the building is my age, we're the same age. His children are now the same age as my son. They are now managing these properties.
Wow.
So real estate is a generation.
Yeah.
That individual doesn't look like you and I in terms of our complexion, but we need to find the right people to be around, to understand the journey, because we don't have 50 years to figure it out. We got to do it in 2 to 3 years or even less.
Yep.
So I have always surrounded myself with non-Black folks who have done what they've done successfully to fast track my learning journey. So my information wasn't learned at the University of Carleton, it was learned at the University of West Indies, it was learned by my association with people I deal with. So to answer Nalini's question, it depends on what your plans are. You plan to hold the entire portfolio, you plan to liquidate them along the way. But at the same time, it's much easier to acquire small single-family homes than to try to acquire large multifamily units because of the cost restriction.
So, Ray, I'm going to warn you right now. I think the rest of our conversation is going to be questions. So, Ryan, this is beautiful because they're just said. So, Ryan, whenever you want to get a question in, I suggest you get in because we got at least.
Yeah, I'm good with the family.
Yeah. Let the family try. There's at least 4 to 5 more questions for Ray. So next up, one of a few questions that Marlon has. Marlon says, currently in the GTA, the entry point to get into real estate investing is restrictive. Say you find markets where investment is favorable. How do you get into those markets without having residency?
As a Canadian resident or a citizen, you can buy property anywhere in the US with a minimum of 20 or 25% down payment. The qualification is exactly the same here as in Canada. It is no different. If you're not a Canadian citizen, you have to prove to the lender that you have the ability to go in and out of the US freely. In the Caribbean, if you buy property in the Caribbean, there's what is called citizenship by investment, CBI, where if you're buying property based on a certain number of dollars, you can easily acquire citizenship in those Caribbean islands, our Caribbean territory. And that includes parts of Central America, Costa Rica, Belize, Panama. So in some places, the amount is as little as $250,000. So if you're going to buy, in some cases also, if you employ people. So buying in the US for Canadians, citizens or residents, is actually not as difficult as many people think it is. The Royal Bank of Canada offers mortgages for people who live in the US. They're primarily located doing deals in Florida because it's Florida, I think Florida, Arizona, and Nevada are the 3 states that they do a lot of business in. A lot of Canadian banks have a significant presence in the United States. If you go into New York, so you see that TD Bank logo, they have a US presence in there. Bank of Montreal has a partnership with banks in Florida. If you go to some of the bank machines and you actually you see, it tells you that you put your Bank of Montreal card in, it tells you so you don't pay any bank. So it's very easy to do it. What is important is the research. Doing the research to understand the city you want to go into and why you chose that city. And again, what your budget is.
All right, good stuff. Christopher asks, off topic but related, I heard mostly that Canada will be welcoming more new residents within the next few years. Does this mean the cost of real estate in Canada? I think what he means is probably, what does this mean for the cost of real estate in Canada, period?
It's a very, very significant, a lot of pressure downward, a lot of pressure on the rental market. We haven't seen any real rental stock, purpose-built rentals built in Ontario, in 4 to 5 decades. Daniel's developments, Daniel Homes, they built purpose-built townhomes over a period of time. I'm not sure if they still own those units, but I know a lot of them are sold off to investors, mostly from Asia. They kept their rents pretty reasonable. It was a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bathroom townhome around 1,200 square feet. Great product for rental families. So yes, it will put some pressure on the values because, I mean, all the immigrants come to basically 3 cities, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. A large percentage are not going out further west. They're going to Windsor, Niagara Falls, and into Calgary. Calgary is still a very attractive investor market. When you look at the price of real estate based on the your rental income, it's very, very favorable. And that's one thing you want to look at as an investor. When you buy a property, right, is that property bought in a geographic area where the rental income makes sense? So I usually use a 1% ratio. That's a very simple thing. If I buy a property for $200,000, then my rent should be $2,000 a month. So that should be your baseline. Look at the property. Property is worth $300,000, then my rent should be $3,000 a month. If it's worth $400,000, and if you work the numbers around on a rate between probably 5 to 6.5 or 7%, that property based on that 1% ratio, it should actually work out in your favor and should positively cash flow. If you buy a property for $400,000 and rent is $2,000 a month, it doesn't make any sense. You go and sit there and hope for the appreciation, right? So understanding the property value in relation to the potential rental income is very, very important. So condos in Mississauga, for example, there's $600,000 for a condo in Mississauga. What's your rent? $3,000 a month. So is it a great investment? Flip the script. Single family home in Northeast Florida, $130,000. What's my rent? $1,450 a month, right? Four family unit, $350,000. My rent per unit, $1,100. So my total rent for the entire property is $4,400. I'm buying for $350, right? So that 1% is where you want to start. And once you understand those guidelines, it's easier to make better decisions if your focus is building a rental portfolio. Now, if you flip real estate, they're different. The next thing you want to look at is what is that city or state relationship with landlords. You don't want to be a landlord in a city, a province, or a state that isn't landlord friendly, where the eviction process is going to take me 2 years, like it is here in Ontario. I have no desire to buy any rental property in Ontario because I have no interest in spending months of my time in a court trying to evict somebody who's not paying me for my property and it's destroying my home. So no interest. I want to be in a place where the landlord laws are in my favor, where I can evict you in less than 30 days if you don't pay my money. Very simple. And it's not being a cold or heartless person. This is a business.
Business. Yep.
Let's say, for example, if you're in an environment where you've got a high level of shoplifting, what will you do? You close your business down, or you introduce a very good security system. So why would you have real estate investments in a jurisdiction that isn't landlord friendly? Where someone's going to sit here and cry on the judge's shoulder and say, well, I lost my job, so I can't pay you. Yippee-dee, deal with it. No, we're not going to deal with it. I'm going to get my property. It's that simple. Right.
All right. So I'm already going to put it out there. We're going into bonus time, family. So just if you're here now, because as we're doing this conversation, the number of viewers is going up and up, and the number of questions, conversation pieces are going up, which is a beautiful thing. So Ryan, do you want to get something in before I put out the next set of conversation pieces?
No, I'm good. I'm good. This
okay. All right. Marlon is saying many of the growing cities are transitioning rapidly in terms of industry. For example, new development, sports teams, headquarter relocations. How do you keep up with the changes? I think you may have shared a little bit already, Ray, but do you want to add anything more? Okay. So he may be frozen.
All right. I was frozen, so I didn't get the question in its entirety.
Okay, no problem. I'll repeat it again. Marlon is asking, many of the growing cities are transitioning rapidly in terms of industry. For example, new developments, sports teams, headquarter relocations. How do we keep up with those changes?
By doing the research. The people who are in my inner circle know I spend about 3 to 4 hours every single day researching my real estate markets. It's a full-time job. It's what I do for a living. You can buy a property based on a 5-minute conversation with a realtor. So you've got to basically do a lot of research. Coming back again to the investment groups or clubs that are located in those particular cities, and then find yourself a realtor who works with investors. Not all realtors is going to are going to work for you. If a realtor sells bedroom community type houses to young families, he is not the person, or he or she, sorry, is not the person you want to work with. You want to find a realtor who actually works with investors, or who is prepared to learn how to work with investors. It's a very, very different interaction. So by having that realtor, he can keep you in tune with what's happening. I mean, they're building a new cold storage facility in a place you're interested in. That means they're going to have 500 jobs in there. Most of those people are going to come from out of state, out of city, out of province. So it might make sense if you already got 2 properties in that area to try and buy 2 more, because you're going to have people who will be looking for places to rent, right? Find yourself a group of colleagues who are doing the same thing you do. So if you've got a group of 5 or 10 people who are investors, because everybody's in their own little niche and the conversations overlap. For us, we learn from our clients, because every client we have is doing something different, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, when a client comes to my office, I have the 50-10 rule. 50 minutes of our 1-hour conversation, we just talk. I want to know who you are and what you're doing. I'm curious. And then 10 minutes we do business. Business is easy. You've got a property, you want to borrow some money. It's simple. Right?
Yes.
It's not that difficult. But I need to know who you are and what you are doing. And every client I meet, I had a gentleman who was here a few days ago. He's an architect. He lives in North America, sends his daughter to university here, but he earns his income in the Caribbean. Do you understand how much money you got to make in the Caribbean, right? To live in Canada, have no income in Canada, and live here? So when Steph spoke to the gentleman, I said, Steph, I want to meet this guy, because I need to know what he's doing in the Caribbean to make enough money to not work in the GTA, send his daughter to school to university full time, and not be starving.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So for me, the conversation is the key is listen to people.
Yeah.
And you learn so much. I had another client of mine who moved up north to one of these nuclear towns, and she bought a home where the builder finished the basement, and she told me that she can get $1,000 per room from guys who worked at the nuclear plant. She had a 2-bedroom basement. Now, and I always keep saying to you, tradespeople are your best tenants. Because they work very long hours. They come in, they sleep.
Right. They just need a nice place to sleep.
There's no wear and tear in your home most of the time. We had the exact same thing too in Northeast Florida on one of our properties. Or one of our current tenants is the same thing. They're not home all day long. Right. So research is very important. It's constant learning. I mean, any profession you're in, if you're an accountant, you're constantly learning and doing new things. If you're an attorney, you're in medicine. So if you're a real estate investor, and that's what you plan to do to make, $10,000-$15,000 a month from your properties, $100,000 a month from your properties, then you've got to put a lot of time in. If it was easy, everybody be doing it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it just adding on to what Ray has shared, I always say to people, everyone has their to-do list, but what's your to-learn list? To learn. What do you need to learn about what you're passionate about? So Divine Right says, and just when you were talking and sharing earlier, Ray saying that's me working, but can't afford to buy my own home now. Rental houses in North Virginia are very high, unfortunately. And then she also backs it up. She has a question. Is it difficult to own an investment property in Europe if you live in North America?
I haven't done a lot of research on buying property in North America, in Europe. I would assume the exact same process that applies for Canadians buying in the US is exactly the same thing. No, there's some parts of Europe which are very expensive, and then there are some parts we can buy properties, mostly vacation homes, at a very reasonable price. So, for example, Malta is one of those places. Parts of Greece, part of southern France and Spain, you can buy properties very expensive. I have friends in property in Malta. People I know, some friends, people I know own property in Malta. The thing with a lot of European cities, particularly in the United Kingdom, a lot of them struggle economically. They're very expensive to live in. There's high unemployment. I guess that's because the Commonwealth is no longer the Commonwealth, and they're not getting money from the Caribbean and Africa anymore, as they did back in this, prior to the 1960s. But yeah, vacation homes I know is not that difficult, but I can speak in terms of student renters or rental properties. But for folks in the U.S., you don't need to leave the U.S. to find great deals. You have to understand the landscape you live in. You've got hundreds of cities that create an opportunity, and they're all in the South. Many cities in parts of Texas, many cities in parts of Alabama, many cities in parts of Tennessee, parts of Louisiana, the Carolinas, and obviously Florida. If you're a little comfortable with hurricane weather, then there's parts of Georgia that has many opportunities. And it's not only the names that we're familiar with. I mean, everybody hears the same names, Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, Tampa. I mean, there are probably 70 cities in Florida, right? And we hear the same three names all the time. And that's why we said we are comfortable with the familiar. So if you're in the DMV and you can't afford to buy a house in Townsend, Maryland, then take a trip down to South Carolina and see what's happening there. And you have to take a trip. You take a digital trip. Pull up the map. Look at how large the population is. Look at the economy of the place and do the research. And if you are not capable of knowing what to look for yourself, we are very willing to answer those questions for you. You find a place, you have a conversation, and we go through it. The thing you want to look at when you're buying property outside of your local jurisdiction is what is the cost of managing your property. So if you're going to self-manage, then you have to either fly there or drive there to get to your property. For example, Montreal. That's for Canadians, right? Well, that's kind of close. Let's go to Calgary, but that's not an easy drive. You can buy a property in Calgary, a condo, for under $300,000. That would probably make sense. But your airline ticket to Calgary is probably $1,200. So if your property is making you $200 a month positive cash flow after all expenses paid, then one trip to Calgary and a hotel stay for 2 nights is going to erode your entire profit, right? So that's also very important. What it costs you to self-manage if the property is not within a 5-hour drive from where you are. Now, you can hire a property manager, and they're going to take 10 to 15%. So when you do your numbers, it's all about the numbers, right? You got to make sure when you look at investment property, you run your spreadsheets, you run your calculations, that your net cash in hand includes all those costs. The other thing you want to be cognizant of is that if you buy a property as a single family home, your property tax might be lower. And if the property is now designated as an investment property or rental, your property taxes will increase. Now, in Ontario, it doesn't happen as often. However, in Florida, I'm not sure what happens. If you buy a home in Florida where the property tax annually says $1,200, it's a 3-bedroom house that's 1,000 square feet. Once that property is now tenanted, your property tax is going to almost triple.
Wow.
Yes. So it is very important to understand that. Now, as an investor, I didn't know that. So if my property was barely cash flowing, I'm now in the red. My taxes went up. So that's why it's also very important to find yourself an investment group, an investment club, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or in person, where you have those conversations, because those conversations will come up. Because as people make mistakes, they will share them if the group is transparent and authentic. Because that's how you learn also from other people's mistakes. So there's no reason to make the same mistake twice. If I make a mistake, then I'm going to share it with you, gentlemen. If I don't want you to make the same mistake I made, because it's going to cost you time.
Okay. All right. And the comments are still, we are a few seconds. I'm going to, by the time I get Ray back in, I'll make a good announcement. But Fitness IQ Cam says, hello. Also saying that, yes, nice. She likes the comment, a nice to learn list, likes that. And I'm just waiting for a few seconds, but we'll get into our next conversation piece. There was a comment here. I'll get to it. But we are now officially in bonus time, family. So we are going, but the questions are still coming. So let's continue it on. Marlon asked, do you suggest developing family partnerships to acquire investment properties? Any suggestions on developing the agreement?
Well, I'm all for family. I think your first business partner should be your family, siblings if you're not married, spouse and children if you're married. If you can't work with your spouse and your children and your family and your siblings, then how are you going to work with me? So I'm not interested in working with anybody who doesn't have a solid family foundation. I mean, in my situation, I mean, you gentlemen know I work with my son today. So I mean, my DNA, my firstborn, right? So yes. But having said that, it's also very important to make sure everybody understands the process, understands what is required of them, and understands what the long-term objectives are. I mean, I've got some cousins who live in the U.S. and they're very handy; they can build anything. So I can't wait to get back there and partner with them. Right? So if you've got the money IQ and one person's got can throw the hammer, put the drywall, then what's holding you back, right? If you've got kids who have certain abilities, kids who want to live in certain places, then you look at working with them also on your siblings. So for me, I mean, the foundation of wealth to me is family. That's my first step. If I partner with anybody else, I partner with my family. After my family, my very close friends, right? And close friends doesn't necessarily mean length of time you know somebody. It can just be that you share a lot of things in common.
Yep.
You can meet somebody 6 months ago and have so much in common. My first role in life is being a father, right? So if you are a father before you're everything else, then I will appreciate you as a close friend of mine because we share things in common. But if you're a deadbeat dad, I don't want you around me. I don't have that mindset.
Exactly.
I can't process that information. So yes, I mean, yeah, you want to work with people very, very similar to who you are in that way.
Well, speaking about generational and family, we have a question from Stefan McMillan asking, "What are you?" For those who don't know, that is Ray's son, who says he works for. What are your thoughts behind the BRRRR, buy, rehab, refinance, rent, repeat? So you may want to explain that to us commoners what that is before you give us your thoughts.
The BRRRR method.
That's an amazing process. That process you have to invest a lot. What that means is you buy a property that may have some issues, not necessarily structural issues, but you buy it way below market value. It may need to have a new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring. It may have a leak. You might put a new roof on it. You buy it and you invest. You do the renovations. Once you finish renovations, the value goes up. You rent it, put a tenant in there. Now you get reasonable market rent for it, and then you refinance it, take your cash out, buy the second property. And that goes back to the question that Nilini asked earlier, whether you should buy a single family home or a multi-family home as your first investment property. And I said you have to have a process. So if you can only afford to buy small single family homes, then in order to scale very fast, having multiple doors or multiple units, then the BRRRR approach, the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, is one way to get there pretty quickly. But there's a formula behind all this stuff. You have to understand the numbers, okay? When you buy a property that needs to be renovated before you can rent it in order to refinance it, you want to make sure that your refinance value, right? When you buy it, let's say you buy it for $50,000, and it's going to cost you $30,000 to renovate it. And the future value should be upwards, when you finish renovating, should be upwards of $100,000. Right? You follow me, gentlemen? Because when you refinance the property, you don't want to refinance it based on what it appraises for. You want to have equity left there also. So you've got to make sure when you use the BRRRR approach that you understand the numbers behind that renovation project. Because if there are any overruns in that renovation project, you're dead. So that is math and science at its best. Because you can't afford to have any kind of cost overruns. Because you will end up upside down very, very fast. There's a lot of novice investors who use that approach where they come in and say, well, I can do it for $40,000. It ends up costing $100,000. The one thing that contractors do when they use this approach, they most times don't factor in the cost of their labor. Now, I've got a couple of very good friends of mine who are contractors. One approached me and said, "Well, I can buy this place in Brampton for $300,000. I put $100,000 in. It's now worth $500,000." And my question to him was, "What's your labor costs?" And he said to me, "I'm going to do the work myself." But I said, "But if you're doing the work yourself, it means you're not making money doing any other construction jobs anywhere else. So you have to factor in the cost of your labor, even if you're doing the work yourself. Because if you're making $8 an hour as a contractor, and you spend 120 hours doing your own project, then you're not earning $8,000 an hour somewhere else.
Right.
So you can't ignore that cost of your labor."
Yep.
I never thought about that. And that are the mistakes that many novice investors make all the time, particularly those who have the ability to do stuff themselves, because you have to factor in the cost of your time. Because time is the most valuable thing you got on the face of the earth.
Absolutely.
But it's a great approach. It's one that I love. As I said, you got to find stuff on discount. You find property in a discount. You don't want to buy stuff at full price, because then you've lost the upswing on that unit.
No problem. Family, keep the conversations going. I think Ryan had to jump off, but I'm still here. We're still keeping going. Myself and Ray, and there's still questions coming in. Keep them coming. Ray loves this. He loves this sort of stuff. So next up, LinkedIn user says, "Are there any online resources where the community can learn on how to chart a path to home ownership?"
Is this as an investor or a home?
That's a good question.
A home to live in. I mean, if you're buying a home to live in, yes, there are many. The CMHC website has many learning modules on how to buy your first home. So there's the Sagan website, which is Genworth. And then any mortgage professional, they can advise you. But yeah, if you want the best information, then the Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation is the best place to go. There are many videos, many articles, many modules to tell you what you need to do and how to get there as a first-time homeowner. As a first-time home buyer, you can buy anything from 1 unit to 4 units in Ontario and most of North America, providing 1 unit is going to be owner-occupied. And then the rent from the other 3 units can be used in the mortgage qualification process. So I hope I answered that person's question.
No, and if they didn't, so the person said live in. So you answered that part of it. So thank you. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Also, Fitnets IQ says, yeah, time is valuable. So, and they also said, Fitnets IQ said, answering that question said, or join Raymond's newsletter. So promo. And LinkedIn user says, thank you so much. Let's go to our next conversation piece. Let me just, because there's so many. Okay. Marlon Stephen is back again saying, knowing how to increase the value of your real estate holdings is key. What strategies have you employed to increase your portfolio's value?
Small upgrades. The thing is you want to do is get the top end of your market rent for your properties. And so when you want every tenant who walks into your unit before they take possession, they think they've walked into a brand new unit. If somebody moves out of your unit, you just want to do a little bit of sweeping and think that you've got a great place to live in. You want to probably repaint the place if the floors are a little worn, change the floors, change some faucets if you need to. Not a whole lot of money, but you want to do things that when that new tenant comes in, that they've walked into a nice unit. The other thing you also want to look at if you're planning to scale up is when you buy a property, you want to see what potential you have for future rezoning. So let's say you bought a single family home that sits on a lot that is 10,000 square feet. You may have the ability to tear that property down and rebuild 6 units if the local municipality allows the rezoning. So you've now gone from a property that's worth a couple $100,000 to one that can be worth $500,000 to a few $1 million with the change of use. So that is probably what you want to look at more closely. How do I change the value significantly by being able to change the physical footprint of the structure? And And that process usually takes time. That takes time and patience because you want to see what is happening within the local neighborhood. I mean, for example, New York City, Brooklyn, right? A lot of the smaller single family homes in Brooklyn, many parts of downtown Brooklyn, are now being replaced by 6-unit small apartment buildings.
Yep.
Right. So I mean, if you had property sitting there, if you bought a property there 25 years ago, and you were in one of the busiest streets and got 24-hour bus service, now you can either get involved with an investor partner, you can sell it to a developer, or you do the project yourself. So if you don't want to take on the stress of trying to do it yourself, your market value is now up significantly because the future developments will be worth millions of dollars. You sell them cash out and take your money. Right. So yeah, those are some things you want to look at.
All right. Next, and again, contact information for Ray. He's open to have conversations. I'm telling you, I have shared a number of people to Ray in regards to conversations like this. Why not you? I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Next up, Hayden asks, is Quebec a landlord-friendly province?
Hayden will have to research that himself. I am not 100% sure. It's a good market to buy investment real estate. Some cities, Gatineau is one of the cities where there's a lot of opportunity. And because of the age of the city, being an older city, you find many older homes that have the potential. Not Quebec, sorry, Montreal. Quebec is the province, Montreal is a city. But Montreal and Gatineau have a lot of opportunities there for multifamily. Quebec has a lot of different rules when it comes to compared to the rest of the English-speaking provinces. So to invest in real estate anywhere in Quebec, province of Quebec, you might want to speak to a lawyer who does real estate in Quebec to have that clarified. But coming back as a spin-off of that question from Hayden, and that's where the team comes in, right? You want to build a team of professionals around you to help you scale your process faster. And who's on that team? That team involves a real estate agent who is investor friendly and who understands the local market very well. You don't want to take your Toronto real estate agent to Wasaga Beach to buy real estate or to Windsor to buy real estate. You want to find yourself a local realtor. Likewise, if you're in the US and you got a friend who lives in the DMV with you, you don't want to carry them to California to buy real estate. You want to find a very good realtor who is in California. So find a realtor who understands the local market because they've got their finger on the pulse of what's happening in that environment. Then you want to find your finance professional, whether it's your bank, credit union, or your mortgage professional, and they understand what you're trying to accomplish, and they got your financing lined up. So when you find a property, you're not now trying to find your financing. So there's no problem with your financing. You know exactly what is required from you and what they're going to do for you. Then you want your lawyer. You want a real estate lawyer, not somebody who does immigration, divorce. You want a real estate lawyer or a title closing company who understands real estate, right?
All right.
A contractor. You want to find out if you're going to have a contractor. If you plan to redevelop the property, then you want a contractor who actually understands the city, understands how long it takes to get permits and that sort of stuff, and they can take care of that stuff for you. Property appraiser, home inspector. Home inspector is very, very important because what looks nice with a fresh coat of paint and nice wood floors might be a nightmare in the making. There may be issues with plumbing, electrical, foundation. A home inspector is going to pick out all those issues for you. Remember, you're buying an investment property. You can't afford to have a surprise project that you didn't budget for. You buy a property that has foundation issues because you didn't do a home inspection. It looks great, but you got a foundation issue. Or you buy a property that needs a new roof, and that roof is going to cost you $15,000. You didn't budget for that expenditure. So you want to get the inspection done. Property appraiser, they will determine whether your value that the vendor is asking for the property and what you're paying for it is actually reasonable. You don't want to buy a property because the price sounds right. You want to make sure that the value is comparable to the local market. Then you want your handy person, handyman, handy woman. I mean, there's a lot of women in trades today. You want that person when you want something to be done. If you can't do it yourself, they can do it quickly. And then you want that guy who sells appliances. But if you're a landlord, you want to be able to find appliances, quality appliances a little less expensive than you can buy from Home Depot and the big stores.
Box,
So
yeah, the big box stores.
big box. I mean, you know, if you got a guy who says use appliances, they might got a little scratch and dent on the side, but you put it in that spot, you don't see the dent. The handle is broken. You go online, buy a new handle for $10. You change the handle, but you buy it maybe low value. And then sometimes, you know, he also fixes appliances. So if you got a washer and dryer for your tenants to use, and the washer and dryer stops working, you got your appliance guy can come over, change the circuit board, $100, your washer's back to normal. So those I have in my team. Then you want your lawn care guy, the guy who takes care of your, you know,
and snow.
Well, if you're in a place where the snow falls, yes, you want to remove the snow. But you know, if you're not in a place where snow falls, your landscape person is very important, because your curb appeal enhances your home property significantly and helps with the value and your appeal to the right quality tenants. If your property looks like trash, you attract trash. Right? If your property looks good, you attract better tenants, and you can probably get $50 or $100 more a month if your property looks good than the house next door, because you look better, right? And that's how you make your money. That's where your cash flow increases. So you have 12 units at $100 more. That's $500 per month per property if you got a 12-unit property. So it's very, very simple. You clear the numbers, right? Take care of the property, it's going to take care of you.
That was a knowledge bomb right there. And just people, you're getting major game here. And it's interesting because one of the questions I had from the family coming up was, you know, Teacher Inspired said, thanks for your valuable insights so far. What are some essential factors to consider when choosing a property management company? Ray just laid it right there. He just laid out the team for you right there. So I don't think
more specifically for that particular question is asking for references, right? Asking for 3 or 4 people who they have actually worked for in the last 5 years. If they have a website or an online presence, go and see what their reviews are. Find out what they charge you. That's the first thing you want to find out. Because most property managers will take a percentage or a flat fee. So you want to know what that number is. And then next, you want to know what are they going to do, right? Some property managers do what is called a rental guarantee. So if the property is empty, they continue paying the mortgage if there's a mortgage. Some don't, right? Because they have clients who are always looking for a place to rent. So there's no vacancy impact on your pocket. So you have to know exactly what they're doing, right? Do they include maintenance? Are you paying for the maintenance over and above their fees? So have a contract, go through it in detail. If you're not too sure, sit down with your real estate lawyer, have them help you review it. I mean, you've got to pay your team members if you invest in real estate. So don't think you know it all and try to save $200 and it costs you $10,000 in the future. Spend the $200, sit with the lawyer for half an hour, and get the contracts reviewed before you make any decisions. Because once you sign those contracts and stuff, you can't get out of it. Because everything when it comes to real estate is all contractual, right? The lease is a contract, the mortgage is a contract, right? All your agreements are contracts. So if you're not savvy with understanding contracts, have a lawyer on your portfolio, on your payroll, that you can reach out to and have them review your contracts within 24 to 48 hours.
Just adding on to what Ray just shared recently. Yeah, so if people are in the GTA and they need like references to places where buying appliances at a discount rather than buying it at a Home Depot, Rona, Lowe's, etc. I know of an online store. I won't give out the name because I'm not going to promote them. They're not paying me to do that. So, but there is an online store in Toronto that every month have an appliance overstock sale. And the amount of appliances that they're selling, and in fact, they actually are getting them from a known online retailer. They have overstock. They push it to this online store and they sell it for whatever prices. And I have an associate of mine who shopped there consistently for 3 or 4 months to buy appliances to ship to his home in Jamaica. And then I also have another gentleman who has a used store, like Ray said. He has refurbished stuff, scratch and dent stuff, and he also repairs too. And I'm actually dealing with him right now. So there are different ways. So definitely Ray is speaking the facts. He's breathing the fire. If you're going into investment, that is so key to have a team. Ray, people ain't stopping, they still want to ask you more.
Right. I've got as much time as you have in this day.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Marlon, who has been on fire today, how about developing land holdings? I have found well-located land in Los Angeles. This is different from investing indoors. How different is the process?
I think he meant invest in actual physical property or units by saying
Right.
those. I mean, yeah. Land development is a very, very different beast. First of all, when you're buying land to develop, you either got to buy it cash or have a very large down payment, usually 50% or more. And then you've got to understand the process of the development. First, you got to know what can you build on the land. What is the land? What's the primary use that the land is zoned for? And will that zoning be profitable for you once you construct that property? Now, when you construct the property, what are you constructing it for? Is it for your personal use or for as an investment property? And then what is the permit process? Is the city you're building in, are they friendly to small developers? Right? And then you want to understand what the finance process is. How do you finance the construction project if you don't have that money yourself? Now, construction finance is a very, very different beast from buying a property. And this conversation is not long enough for us to go through the entire process because it's done in stages. It's done at a certain percentage of the finished product. And many of the people who finance construction financing, they want to see you as a developer. If you're a new developer, they want to see that you have some skin in the game. Some lenders who do construction financing are reluctant to lend to individuals who are doing what they call self-builds because they don't have the experience to do it. They will only lend if you've got a certain contractor involved. If it's a home that you're building, a residential property in Ontario, your contractor has to be Tarion approved. Tarion is sort of an insurance company that sort of insures new construction projects. If you buy a home from a builder, you'll have what is called a Tarion warranty attached to it. So you should know what that is. In other jurisdictions, they've got other types of new build warranty programs. So there's a lot of work and paperwork and administrative work that's involved in doing a construction from the ground up. However, done properly, it is highly profitable. If you can get your land at a discount and then you understand that development process, you can make a significant profit on a construction project, whether you're building a luxury home, whether you're building a small apartment building. And then also, finally, you want to know what is your exit strategy? Is it a build and hold or a build and sell? No, I mean, you can change your mind along the way as you watch how it unfolds. There's nothing's cast hard in stone. But you also want to determine, am I building this project to sell it? Or am I building this project for my personal use, either to occupy it as my home or to have it as an investment cash flow generating property?
All right. Few little catch-ups here. Teach and Inspire says, thanks for the tips. Also, Divine Right says, when I owned an investment property in Dallas, Texas, having a property management company was super helpful and a game changer. When I had to sell, they even helped me find a great realtor. So when you have a great team, bam, 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 bam. So believe it or not, we had our last conversation piece, and look who gets the last conversation piece. Stefan is asking a common question asks, what is a better property investment, a condo or single family home? What are the pros and cons between the two?
It's a good question. Again, it depends on the level of involvement the investor wants to have. So we have a lot of female clients who invest in condominiums. So what it does, it takes away a lot of the maintenance that you have to do. Single family investments take time. So if you own more than one property, for example, let's say you own 5 single family homes in a different part of a city, then you've got to find the time to drive from property to property, dealing with your tenants' issues. And there's always going to be an issue. There's also the capital expenditure you're going to have at some point that you have to budget for. And many investors don't cater for that. So if you have a single family home, you may need a furnace at some point because the furnace has to be replaced. You may need to replace your driveway at some point. So that's a capital expenditure. You may need to replace your roof, right? If the house has siding at some point, you have to replace the siding because the siding is now dated or it just needs to be replaced. So there's a lot of capital expenditure costs you will incur if you invest in single family homes or even duplex or any type of standalone real estate. In a condominium, particularly older condominiums where they have significant condo fees, a lot of those condo fees go to maintaining the property, right? And most of those condos come to amenities. And I think in one of our last conversations, we spoke about the reluctance of Caribbean and African people to buy condos in North America.
Yes.
It's not a lifestyle you're accustomed to. That makes a lot of sense. So if you invest in condominiums, your maintenance is almost non-existent. So there's no capital expenditure you have to worry about if you invest in high-rise apartment condos, because all you're responsible for is what is behind the door of your unit. So there's no maintenance costs for roof replacements and driveways and parking spots and lawn care and none of that stuff. So all of your income is rent is devoid of those expenses, right? So there's no better or worse in most of these comparisons. It's just what works best for you as an investor.
All right. Well, I think that this is the longest period of time that we've had you on for a conversation. With the questions were fantastic, and I know that you love this style where just people just ask questions. You love that interaction.
Yeah, thank you very much. But I mean, don't be rushed and hurried in your real estate investment journey. Don't compare yourself to anybody who is telling you that they've got this massive success story. Do the research yourself. Build your spreadsheets. Understand what is required or what is involved in making a piece of real estate profitable. Surround yourself with people who have been there, done that, or even those who are trying to do it. Have great conversations. It's a lot easier today to find a tribe, whether they're online or part of your local community, and just do it. It is time tested that one of the easiest ways to make money for your family and create generational wealth is by owning real estate. Your locations are very important. I personally prefer to be in areas that are close to water. When I say close to water, I don't mean beachfront property. I mean anything that is 20 minutes from a lake or a river, because those cities tend to have a better quality of life because cities have like a boardwalk or that kind of waterfront environment. Always tend to attract a different type of resident. It usually tends to be a more laid back, unhurried lifestyle. I mean, if you walk along any boardwalk across North America, people seem to have a better quality of life. They're never rushed around. Talk about living close to the water, So I like, even parts like Baltimore, for example, it's a beautiful waterfront city. I love the Baltimore waterfront, and boardwalk is one of the best in North America. Similarly to Toronto, the Toronto boardwalk. Jacksonville, Florida has an amazing downtown core, a beautiful boardwalk. I'm sure there are many other cities that have that same thing. They're sitting on one of the largest rivers. Montreal has a beautiful maze of water downtown with the bridges in the water.
Yeah.
Beautiful city. Kingston, Ontario is another one like that also.
Yep.
You have a waterfront, kind of with a waterfront view. It can be an amazing investment. As an investor, depending on who your target client is. And then also it's very important to understand who your tenant is. I should have mentioned that earlier. Like when you buy your real estate property as an investor, who is your target audience, right? You can't buy a luxury condo in the hood because, or you can't expect to get luxury rents on a property that's in the wrong location. So it's very important to understand who your target audience is, and that way the property you're buying is specific to the audience or the demographic in the city you're buying it in. I mean, you don't want to buy a property where you're looking to get $3,000 a month rent when the median rent where you're buying is only $1,200 a month. because it's going to be a very, very small percentage of people who can afford to pay that rent. And if your property is located in the wrong side of the town or wrong side of the city, then they might not be prepared to pay you rent based on where your property is located. So it's very important that your rent for your units are comparable to their location, right? And that's very, very important. And I should have mentioned this earlier in our conversation. That's probably one of the most important things. That
Right.
you know, because every city or postal code or neighborhood has their median rent range, and you want very close to that number. If you're way out of range, if you're too much above that range, then you have a very difficult time renting your unit. And if you need higher rent to cash flow your property or to pay for it, then you have a problem. You bought the wrong property in the wrong neighborhood. You'll be very careful with that.
Yeah. Who is your target client? Who is your target client?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start winding it down. Divine Right says, great question, Stefan. Well, look who he was raised by. Dr. Thatcher, you're going to have to watch the repeat. You miss major, as always, knowledge bombs from Ray. But Dr. Thatcher, for all that don't know, hosts the livest program online that handles media tech, talks about media tech and pop culture, media media scope, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live, then 6 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Twitch, and other platforms. So check her out. And actually, she's going to be coming back on the Morning Vibe in the next few weeks. I did send her a message yesterday. So Dr. Tachi, check your messages. Updated that. Marlon says, hills are also beautiful. That's it, Ray. Long one today, but that's why you like your Fridays. You can just sit back and relax. Thank you so much for everything that you do. His contact information is there. No excuses, whether you're in Canada, US, even toll free, even website, even email. It's all there. It's all there. So Ray, as always, thank you so much for all that you have done, are doing, and will be doing to help us create generational wealth.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you to the audience.
Yeah, audience was great today.
Questions, I certainly appreciate. Hope I was able to answer them all properly for you guys. And if you got any questions, just send us an email, and we will do our very best to get back to you in 24 hours or less.
All right, take care, be well. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
Thank you, guys.
All right. All right, family. That, as I said, that is the longest stint that Ray has been on the Morning Vibe, but you came strong today. Came strong. Absolutely fantastic conversation topics. Lots of wonderful stuff that was shared about today. And again, if you have questions, I'll put up quickly one more time. This is how you can reach out. I speak with Ray at least once a week, whether it's personal, professional, I reach out. And I've, as I said, referred a number of individuals in the real estate and not in real estate to him. So a few things. Please feel free, if you're up to it, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show, especially on YouTube. Hit subscribe and the notification button. I'll tell you when upcoming conversations are coming up. Epic conversations. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, wherever you're liking it, whether it's my platform or Ryan's. Like, subscribe, and tell other people. All right. Coming up this Monday on the Morning Vibe, Perry Douglas is back, and he'll be talking about the sophistication of self-preservation. So if you're subscribing to the YouTube or Facebook, the conversation is already up for Monday. So notify yourself. Some few other things. Would you like to promote your business or service on the Dr. Vibe Show? Contact me at dr@thedrvibeshow.com. If you want to just get in touch with me in general, there's the website address, the drvibeshow, email address, dr@thedrvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter @drvibeshow, and Instagram @the DRVIBESHOW. That's it, family. We done. I see there's a few last quick comments. Let's see what people got to say. Fitness IQ Cam, thank you so much for taking time. Teach and inspire. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Right back, you all. We will be back here on Monday. And also, for those who don't know, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala, giving their takes of what's going on politically, socially, culturally in the United States of America. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Be ready for some interesting conversation. So as always, I finish off with this. Oh, and Dr. Tess says, I'll watch replay. Thank you very much. I close off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Have an outstanding weekend if you're watching this during a weekend coming up. If not, walk good. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith.